Stay long. Just relax.
We can just hear the coxswain talking about rhythm, talking about relaxation, and that's what's so important in a long race like this. They've done the hard yards out of the start. They just need to sit back and keep that boat moving.
Well, the Sydney University women's rowing 8 beginning to make a little bit of a move. That gap just starting to close up.
That's right. The coxswain's still calling for length. I think he's going to have to call them up and maybe get their rating up if they're going to bridge this gap. You can just sort of see a few of these bodies starting to flail around a wee bit at the moment. These girls are getting pretty tired.
And this is where all the hard training comes into play, having that belief. All those early mornings of getting up at ridiculous hours, putting yourself through a punishing regime in the hope of getting across that finish line first, and that feeling you get with winning, a feeling that you can't buy.
Yeah, we're really seeing these coxswains trying to gee these girls along. This is a tough time in this race. They've been going for a while now, and they really just need the motivation of these coxswains just to keep them in the zone.
Now, Bronwyn Watson, for Sydney University, she's closest to the coxswain. She's a very experienced rower. Will she be able to get a feel of how the boat's going?
Absolutely. In fact, she needs to. She's in that seat that she has to dictate, how the boat is going, and she'll be talking with the coxswain. She'll be talking with William, just saying, okay, how do we get this thing moving? How do we pick up on this very strong Waikato crew? And for me right now, it's about the Sydney crew just lifting their rating and lifting the liveliness of this crew. They're just a little bit dead right now.
Power. Got some twigs on bow side. Stay with them. Get that grip.
So approaching the final bridge, their last cross, their last opportunity. Now, Waikato University won the toss. They started on the western side of the river, which means they now must finish on the eastern side.
That's right. The Sydney crew chose the west side for the finish, so school of thought is that will give them some advantage. And secondly, of course, the Waikato crew will need to cross the river again. So the Sydney crew will be hoping that they're close enough to take some advantage of the fact that Waikato need to cross.
I want it there.
Emma Tolhurst for the Waikato University Women's 8, setting the tempo, taking the instructions from the coxswain, getting a feel for where they're at.
Okay, we're going to go 10. Think about the arm draw on the next. This one. Now,
this final crossing so important. When do you make your move? When do you go from the west bank to the east bank?
Don't let them move.
I think we should see that Waikato crew move any minute.
Stay long. Keep stretching out together.
And the coxswain's just telling them that there's a bit of rough water coming.
Use it. Good stuff. Give me that 10 strokes building. Yep.
Really digging it in there.
Time. Yep. Good 10, good 10. Now 10 starting to spin it. Cross the bridge, nice and clean. 10 spin, this time. Yep. Going with that cross. You're under the water.
So we're just seeing this a fantastic shot of the Waikato crew crossing the river back towards the east side.
Let's attack them now.
Sydney University a little bit late to make their move. In fact, they're staking to that west bank. They must finish down that side, so it's make or break time now for both crews.
So what we'll see now is the Sydney crew once again really just hug that west bank to see if they can claw some ground off. Hey, we've just seen Waikato cross the river, but there's still a very big lead there.
Really make it. Max it out, Michael.
3.8 kilometres in total distance. An event most of these rowers are not used to. They don't have a lot of historical data and training to really truly understand pace judgment. Have the Waikato crew made a mistake? Can Sydney close this gap as we come down towards the finish line for the 2010 Brian Gould Cup?
Yeah, this will be telling for these Waikato girls. They went out very fast at the start. They haven't really let that rating slip at all. The fact will be, can they hang on? Can their endurance actually get them through to the finish? I think we're seeing the Sydney crew make a small gain, but it's not a big gain, but it'll be telling in the next couple of 100 metres.
Use that advantage we've got.
And the men's race immediately following this, the Harry Mann Trophy, and I just wonder how much the men will be watching this, and if once the rowers get off the water, they ask a couple of questions and just so I can get a feel for what the conditions are doing out on the river.
Absolutely, they will be looking very intently at this at this race. They'll be seeing how each of the crews went, seeing how each of the sides of the river performed, and in particular I think they'll be looking at how much the Sydney crew can claw back down this last stretch.
Now, we saw a very high stroke rating from the start line from both crews. What do we expect over the last 200 metres?
You know, it's very much taking the rating back up to that low 40s. As they sprint for home the last 500 metres, you throw everything into that boat. You know, you're buggered, but you've just got to keep going and you wind the boat up. It's a last-ditch effort, particularly from the Sydney girls. They just have to really throw everything at that.
About 500 metres, if that, keep that push on, just 500.
Right about now, these rowers will be really, really hurting. They're almost moving on autopilot. And in fact, the mark of a really good rower is when you can't really tell that they're as tired as they actually are. And look, the blade work's still okay. The blades are still going in. The heads are still straight. But these girls are really, really hurting about now.
Yes, I hope they'll forgive me, but some wonderful ugly faces out on the water as they really have to try and work the lungs to get as much oxygen as the body as they can. The mind is willing, the body's saying, I can't handle a lot more of this.
And the coxswain will be telling them to wind up for the finish. The legs will be burning, the backs will be burning. They'll start to hear the crowd about now, and they'll start to be motivated by knowing that finish line is just 20 to 30 strokes away.
The women's Waikato 8 in control of this race, not far from the finish line. They'll be putting everything into it. They know the challenge is still coming though from Sydney University. It is all about concentration here. It is all about maintaining good form, and they continue to hug this eastern bank of the Waikato River, leaving nothing to chance. The brutality of it, what a brutal event. But these girls, they've put so much hard work into this, and at the end of the day, it looks like local knowledge and superior endurance will be the difference between this and the Sydney crew. Sydney still believe they've got a chance, this wonderful crowd down here, to welcome home these two great rowing crews. It is the Waikato crew who win the 2010 Brian Gould Cup. Elation combined with complete and utter exhaustion.
Fantastic effort by the Waikato girls. They kept the rate up the whole way. They kept it lively. They took it right to the Sydney crew right from the start. They never let them back in the race. Really, really good effort. And you could just see the pain and the joy on the face of the Waikato rowing girls crew. I'm not quite sure I can see the joy just yet, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations. But I tell you what, you don't have such a wonderful event without a great rival, and congratulations to the Sydney University 8 for coming here, showing up and doing what the Australians do so well, and that is leaving nothing till the very, very end of this race.